Hello. Welcome to this week's episode of Give It a Year. My name is Jenny Q, and this is my podcast diary. Sometimes in my diary I share stories, I share art, I share thoughts on philosophy, and other days I treat this more and more like an actual diary, where I can vent and think and maybe share some of my struggles. And why do I do this? Because it helps me, and I do hope that someday, somewhere, it might help someone on the other side listening to this. So, before I jump into today's episode, which is called Katya, Face to Face with Suzy, I just want to let everyone know I have 4 podcast promises. They are in the description below. And with that, I am going to move forward and let you know right off the hop. This is going to be hopefully a quick little episode, and it's a little bit of a brag one, like a brag entry, but also I'm going to share a little bit more about myself than I usually do. Well, I don't know if that's true. But anyway, stick around if you are someone who struggles with inner critic, who struggles with that inner voice, who struggles with any kind of shame or any kind of frustration, where there's a dichotomy between who you are and who you want to be. Because that's what I'm going to touch on tonight. So, with that, welcome to this week's episode called Katya, Face to Face with Suzy. Now, who is Suzy, you might ask? Well, Suzy is my inner critic. She's my inner voice. And she is that inner dialogue that never shuts up, that is me, that is part of me. And she and I sort of came to an understanding as I was working on things this past year, working on my health, working on my workshops, working on my art. And I had established some new boundaries with her because she used to be really, really loud. And she used to really, really take me down really quickly. And we had a new understanding. But then, as many of you know, if you've been listening to my episodes since February, I had a bit of a mental break. And I don't mean like a break, like I took a break, like a break. And experienced something that doctors call emotional flooding, where a whole bunch of stuff came to the surface after an accident. And I haven't been able to close that door. And in with all of that flooding, Suzy came back, and she had a lot to say and tried to make me feel guilty and upset and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, not going to get super into all that, but that's who she is. And this week specifically, I have finally kind of drawn my line in the sand. I prepped for it last week, and I said, I'm better now, and I need to get back to being me. And so that includes an art journey as well as a personal journey, spiritual journey, and of course my health journey. Well, being sick most of April and just recouping now, I gained some weight back, and I'm getting older. I'm 52, and I'm struggling. I realized I've lost some strength, I lost some skills, and I am just exhausted. And it turns out, according to my counselor, I am burned out. I am just burned out. I'm spent. I'm done. But not in a bad way. I'm still here. And so I am not going to share a whole much more beyond that, other than to say I've drawn a line. And in that line, I have decided to resume working out. I've decided to resume working with my coach. who's amazing, I've decided to do another study program on mindset and figuring out what the heck is going on in my brain. And I've also am seeing a counselor now, and she's helping me a lot. And I'm also actually just taking a bit of a break. But the problem is, Suzy creeps in, and she reminds me that taking a break means I'm being lazy. Taking a break means I'm failing. Taking a break means all these things, which is not true. None of them are true, because you need to have a break in order to come back. You need to have a break to build resilience, and you need to have a break to be able to get distance and perspective and all those things. And if you've ever been through anything like I've gone through recently, you totally understand what I'm saying. So, basically today, I just wanted to record and share an example and real time, real life experience. So if anyone else out there is struggling, you can listen to this and go, hey, there's someone else out in the world who knows what I'm going through and who's not trying to sell me anything to solve it. And they're not trying to tell me they're super amazing. They just are giving me hope that I can have that same resilience and that same discipline. So, so today is like day 2 of resuming with my coach, and that involves doing a check-in every day on food I eat and my weigh-ins and all that. And the other thing is, what is the other thing? I got off track. And so today specifically, as I was going through those things, and I had a moment where I almost do something that I call sneak eating, where I'll eat something but I don't log it. But because I'm working directly with my coach, I will log everything because I have that integrity. I won't lie to my coach. And so I had literally a piece of cake in my mouth that my boyfriend had made. It's delicious. And, excuse me. And I literally bit down and there were teeth marks. And I paused. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, what the heck am I doing? And I realized that Suzy had whispered in my ear so softly and so quietly. She said, just go on, have a little piece of cake. It's okay. It's okay. You didn't hit all your targets today. You still have a carb left, whatever. It's a carb. It's okay. And I paused. And I still needed to go for my walk. And so I put the cake down. Actually, I took the cake upstairs and I showed it to my boyfriend. And he kind of looked at me and I kind of explained and I said, I had this in my mouth and I was about to eat this. And I handed it to him and he took it from me. And he looked at me and he says, you're having a bit of a tough day today. And I started to tear and I was like, yeah, a little bit. And then I just, asked, and we decided to go for a walk together, and we went for the walk and I came back and I did my nutrition count and I looked at my targets and I looked at where I was at and I still had, a little bit that I could use and eat and I was hungry and I adjusted my menu and I hit all my healthy targets. And now I'm doing my podcast. And while I was on my walk, cause Chris walked with me for a little bit, that's my boyfriend, but then he went home and I did a little more walking on my own and a little bit more thinking. And while I was walking, it occurred to me that in this world that we live in now, like everyone plasters all of their achievements on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all that. And they do it because they're proud, which is a good thing, but I think we're being conditioned that we need immediate feedback and praise from people outside of us. We're trained for that now. We're trained to seek appreciation, celebration, and value from people on the outside. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think we have I've forgotten how to celebrate myself. Like, I was very proud that I went and did a 2-kilometer walk tonight, and I was very proud that I didn't eat that cake. Now, is it worth making a post and sharing to everyone? No. And the thing is, too, I'm realizing that if I have to do that, then I'm not really within myself proud. So anyway, I want to wrap this up fairly quickly tonight. So run around. Why did I call this episode Face to Face with Suzy? Because I caught her. I caught her 3 times today, and I paused. And I actually thought about what I was doing compared to what I wanted to do and where my goal was. And I needed to remind myself that my results are not going to be instant, and my results are not going to be something I'm going to share with the world. My results are for me, and I think that's the silver lining. And the big lesson in that is you are going to have to step out of your comfort zone. Everyone who offers personal development will tell you that. And they'll tell you that because it's true. I had to go outside of my comfort zone and put the cake down. I had to go outside my comfort zone. And while I was getting my meal ready, I had this feeling of frustration and upset swell in me while I was getting my cottage cheese with my fruit and my celery and whatever. And it was good. It was a yummy snack. And our kitchen is very small, and my boyfriend made a joke with me, and he was totally joking, and I know he didn't mean it, and I know he wasn't being mean to me, but there was a swell inside of me, and I got very upset, and I got short with him, and I started to act stupid. And I know I acted stupid, but I kept it up because Suzy was whispering in my ear in a different way, and she was saying, how dare he be so rude to you? Doesn't he know you're working hard? He should acknowledge it, blah, 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 blah. And that was the moment I knew this is what I wanted to do tonight's podcast on. And so she was basically trying for me to create a situation where there was trouble, or I could distract, and more importantly, I could justify eating something I didn't want to eat because it wouldn't help me reach my goals. She was trying to find a way to nudge me, to jerk me, to get me to be upset enough that I could be like, to heck with it, I'm going to have that piece of cake. And I didn't. And I was still sort of wound when I came upstairs to do this. And my boyfriend invited me to sit and eat with him. And I know it was weird, but I said, no, I gotta go upstairs. And the amazing thing is, he understood, I think, and here I am, and he's amazing. So, long way around, spin around. What I'm just trying to say is, when you get angry and upset and you feel like you need to lash out, especially to someone close to you, take a moment and pause, because it could be an inner critic or an inner thought or an old thought habit that's trying to keep you anchored into a comfort zone so you don't change, so you can't change, and so you can get into a loop of doing what you don't want to do and feeling shame and useless and whatever. You don't have to do that. In fact, I know you don't. And I just am so proud. What an emotional roller coaster today. I was in tears at one point. I was angry. I was frustrated because my mind kept telling me, don't bother, don't worry. But the bigger part of my soul and my mind was like, no, you have a goal. You are strong, you are healthy, and you have goals, and you will achieve them. And you've been sick, you've recovered, it is time. Point blank, that's it. So, wrapping this up, super quick now, I am going to leave you with this week's question or thing to ponder, and then wrap it up, and then we should be done, hopefully in about a minute here. So I'm just going to bring the music back a little bit. There we go. So the question I want to ask you guys, if you're listening, if you're here, what have you done outside of your comfort zone recently? And the second part to that is, How did you feel about it? Because I'm telling you, getting pushed out of my comfort zone in the moment was awful. But once I completed the thing that was outside my comfort zone, eating a little differently, going for my walk, instead of sitting at home sleeping and being grumpy, I feel better. I feel achieved. I feel a loyalty to myself almost, you know? Anyway, blah blah. I will end this episode, as I always do, by reminding you, and today especially, has me believing this more and more. We all have capacity and gifts and strengths that can make our own lives so much better. And sometimes my 3-tier philosophy, or I can't remember what I called it, but you have to share your smile, and share your love, and share your laughter. So, today, and sometimes you gotta do it with yourself, right? So today I shared a smile with myself when I looked in the mirror before doing this podcast, saying, you did it. You beat Suzy today. Suzy, she's a part of me. She's looking out for me. She thinks she is, but she tries to take me down. And I stood up to her and I said, no, not today. Today I'm doing something different. You have to share your love or your kindness. And I need to go and apologize to my beautiful, amazing, wonderful boyfriend. And so I'm going to give him a hug and thank him, and share my love and kindness and say thank you, and appreciation and gratitude, and that's all part of that. And then share my laughter. And so I'm going to share my laughter with you, and it's courtesy of my boyfriend, because he shared a dad joke with me, and I'm going to pass it along to you. Why don't ducks ever do high pressure jobs? Make it work, you know? Why don't ducks ever take high pressure jobs? Because they would quack under the pressure? I don't know if I got that exactly right. It made me giggle. And so I want you to leave this evening's episode giggling, and I hope I was able to bring that to you. And just remember how easily I just did that. You can do that for someone else. You can do it for yourself. You can do it for family, for friends, for a neighbor, for a stranger. And if we push ourselves outside of our comfort zones, and maybe go against the groups or against the mainstream, and do what makes us feel good by making someone smile, feel loved, feel seen, or make them laugh, like a good laugh, a healthy laugh, a happy laugh, we could just create an undercurrent of change in the world that is so crazy right now. That's all I'm suggesting. Anyway, have a great evening, everyone. Glad to be here as always, and I will be back next week. Take care.